Okay, jump scare. I am 4 minutes late. I apologize. I'm not particularly good at this still, and I was a fool and thought that 3 hours would be long enough to get everything together. I was wrong, but I am here now, and I am here now. So official stream launch. Well, hey, no 2 a.m. stealth launches, just a 6 a.m. official launch. Again, because, you know, why not? I operate on different times to most people. That's completely fair. I'm a morning person. So this set of streams is designed to be kind of a deep dive into my cosplay processes. Um, it should be. I'm hoping it's going to be informative. Um, it's going to be a mess for sure, and I'm at peace with that. Because I kind of I wanted to put out something that's kind of more attainable, something that people can kind of understand a bit better, get behind a bit better, relate to a bit better. Because, a lot of cosplay, you tend to see the end result, and that's great, and I love it, but it's easy to be put off when all you see is the end result. So I wanted to stream what I actually go through when I'm making my stuff, so that people have a better idea of the chaos that actually goes into it. And yeah, hopefully, hopefully that'll all work out okay. I need to try and see. Oh hey, I've just seen the chat exists. Yo, what's up? Nice to see you. Glad you could make it. Awesome. I'm extremely new to all of this, so I apologize if I miss stuff. I I definitely will. And I'm running this from my laptop, which only has one monitor, so I can't dual wield screens, which is a massive problem, and I'm gonna have to figure out a way around that. Morning. Hey. I uh I don't know what time it is for you, but it's definitely morning for me. But very epic of you to come by. I'm trying to see if I can view chat on my phone, because that will make my life a lot easier. I can. I can, but it doesn't seem like it's up to date. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's up on my phone. Brilliant. 1 a.m. is still technically morning, it counts. Yeah, yeah, it absolutely counts. Jeez. Don't stay up on my account, but I'm definitely flattered you chose to be here rather than, asleep. So, cool. Thanks for that. Right, let's get into it. So my next big project, which I've been putting off because it's one of those, it's always hard to start, you know. My next big project, reveal, is Fierce Deity Link from Majora's Mask, because I hate myself apparently. So that's the goal. But I'm planning to do it with a twist. And I want to make it Twilight Princess inspired, because that was one of my favorite games. And I've wanted to make something around that for years. So I figured I could probably kind of merge things in here. I think I can make this fit. So I had a few ideas for it, but I'd stopped myself from jumping into my usual and doing a stupid amount of research and whatever, because it's like the whole point of that was that it was meant to be part of the streams, right? Because that's a big chunk of what goes into what I make. So I am going to attempt to show everyone how I go about gathering all my info, because it comes in super handy later for things like competitions with your build books, etc. But this is how I always start, and it's the more mundane part of the process, which is why I was very much okay with streaming it at a stupid time in the morning, because it's not particularly exciting, but it's also a good opportunity to test streaming and get used to rambling, because, contrary to popular belief, I'm not actually very good at rambling. Not really my thing. I'm more of a, headphones on, music, crack on sort of person. So this is outside of my comfort zone, but I'm sure I'll get used to it eventually. So for now, let's start with a bunch of references. And I like to always start with official media, so official concept art. That is where I always go to first. Even if the image size is really lame. I can do better. I can do better. Oof. Give me a decent image. Yeah, it's still a little crusty, but it'll do. So, no, I don't want to save it. I just want to copy it away. Right. Wahaha. So, this is what I'm planning to do. Again, because I hate myself, apparently. Is that not fitting in the frame? That's better. Okay. So that's the plan. And as I say, I got a few ideas. Yeah, no, it is nuts. It is nuts. I I always try to do something new with every project, and there was quite a lot to this that I thought I could test out new processes, materials, and just kind of wing it. Kind of really, really wing it. What other official stuff? Because I know there was the first for figures statue. Um, da, da, da. That was licensed, so that is also pretty official. It's just whether I can get any decent images, because it's discontinued. I would know because I've wanted one. Yeah, it's not a great pick. No, that is absolutely the only way to go. Categorically. Go hard, go home, to be honest. Always go hard. Because it's one of those things like, what's the worst that could happen? You make a mess, okay. And you still did the thing. It's better to do the thing than to not do the thing. Hmm. Sure. Yeah. I encourage everyone to do the thing. It doesn't matter, as long as you're not hurting anyone, it doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. Always do the thing. Thank you, eBay. A pretty helpful pick. Because the sword is when I say I like trying new things, the sword is gonna be the new thing. Because everything else here I've kind of done before. So in some capacity or another. Ugh, I don't like white backgrounds. They upset me. What did I pick? Was it this one? Yeah. Apply to all. That's the one. Okay. Nice. Nice. But yeah, dark, yeah, for sure. Like if you don't use dark mode on all the apps that let you use dark mode, I don't trust you as a human being. I just don't. It's not normal. Thank you. Yes, it's not. It's not normal. I would be immediately distrustful. Psychotic behavior. The eBay listing is great. A whole bunch of references from this. And I should warn you, a large chunk of my time is very much spent just doing this with any project. That is where a lot of my time goes, is just amassing references. Even though I'm not going to be making this exactly like this, I'm still going to be using it as the main kind of base of what I do end up making. So I want the basics to be very much accurate to the original concept. And then I'm just going to, jazz it up a little bit. Fine. Don't worry about it. Because this, this on its own isn't complicated enough, apparently. I need to make things even more difficult for myself. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I don't cosplay on easy mode. Nah. Nah, nah, nah. If I'm not sweating, bleeding, crying all at the same time, then I'm not cosplaying. Just how that works. Forget to eat, forget to drink. All the classics. Standard stuff. Super standard stuff. Okay, it's gonna get difficult to find many more the First for Figures statue, again, because it's old and discontinued. But it gives me a pretty good idea to start with. I've got too many tabs open. Alright. A pretty good idea. I had started sketching stuff as well. Basic human needs who, yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Yep. Yep. Food is for the weak. Priorities are foam and glue. Okay. Right. Other references. So they're like the canon references. They're good enough. They're good enough. They give me an idea. But because I have been looking at references before this, there are other things I would like to reference that I have seen elsewhere. They are this. Yes. More statues. Statues that are out of stock, otherwise I would be all over them. Can I please view large images of you? Yes, yes I can. Okay, awesome. Right. This is where the fun begins. Perfect. So, with that one specifically, I'm mostly interested in the sword. You get a pretty good view of it from there. Then I'm also interested in the sword, basically in the size of the sword in relation to his body, because I'm going to have to scale that versus my height. so that it's accurate. Yeah, yeah, so pretty. Good grief. Right, give me more references. More references. I'm also going to mess with the sword. I'm not leaving it just looking like that. I got plans. I got plans for the sword. I intend to be ridiculous. That's pretty helpful. There are a few aspects of this that I'd like to do slightly differently. Pretty much his entire height. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And let's think. I tell people I'm 5'9". I'm not. I'm 5'8". So that's a big sword. Either way, extra inch matters. Trust me. But either way, that's a big sword. And that's at the minute that's a future me problem. So I'll deal with that when I get to it. But what else can I reference here? Ooh, that's good. Okay. Yes. All right. I get a lot of textures from this one, which is super helpful. I'll probably do that on a new slide so I can keep it big. Yes. Good, good, good. I'm looking really at the outfit textures on this one. Yeah. Okay. Again, gives me a lot to go with. You can never have too many references, to be honest. Like it's not a thing that exists. You just keep collecting pictures. It's obscenely useful. Again, just for textures, that's helpful. I'm a bit of a reference hoarder, I will say. The sword is in fact bonkers. But that's a lot of what drew me to making this, was just, you know, trying to do so would be categorically nuts. And I looked at that and thought, yeah, it would. So that's my incentive. Don't keep doing that. It's annoying. I've just set up a lot of accounts for my new Gmail that I made for all of this to link to, so I keep getting pop-ups for stuff. So that'll line itself out eventually. What else? Because there is more than one version of this statue. Selectively useful. What is the other one? This one. Yes, this one. Okay. Yeah, the gems are cool. The gems are cool. I have to think about how I want to embed those. Probably just magnets. Because I don't like gluing stuff to fabric, because then you eliminate the stretch and it's easy for it to just break off. So I reckon probably magnets. Let's see. Are any of these pictures particularly helpful? Kinda, sorta ish. Feel like better. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. That's kind of crusty. That's a fairly unique angle. I don't hate that. Don't hate that. It's another view of the sword, which is pretty useful. Oh, we're not going to let me copy it. Fine. I'll just cheese it, and I will screen grab it. Don't think I won't. You shall not keep me from acquiring my references. More useful sword things. Now, it's important to note that the reason I start with the canon references is because there will be subtle differences in various reproductions, especially when it comes to things like statues. And when you're cosplaying, you notice those. You really notice those. So I always default to the official concept art. Because in things like this, so for example, the back of the chest plate on the First for Figures statue, it looks like this. But on the back, this one, it is completely different, which is fine. But also, you then have to pick which version you're going with because you can't make both. You can combine them into a new thing, but you have to choose which is your preferred. And for me, it's always whatever the concept art says because that's the original material. Guessing you'll pick the most difficult option. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And then I'll sprinkle a little extra on top, just for good measure. But it is important to note the differences. What else have I got for this one? There are a lot of considerations with any cosplay ever. And just from the get-go, making decisions is hard. And it's super important, and you need to make them super early. Because once you start, it's going to be painful to retcon stuff. So you got to be strict with yourself. What have I got currently? Got side there, which is helpful. That there is extremely helpful. Some of the back on that, not a lot. So I don't actually have a lot at the back because that's a different version anyway. Okay. Let's see if I can find more back views. I got that one actually. That's pretty good. Probably going to be a tiny, tiny image, but it's a good one. It is a tiny, tiny image. Still helpful, and it's still official. That's better. Okay. That gives me a much better idea. Nice. It's that back plate, because I can't see it very well in that one. Just so I know what shapes I'm working with. Okay, good. Good, that works. I can kinda see a bit in there. But again, they're different, so then I have to choose. Okay. Got a few side-ish references. Side-ish. Yeah, that one's good. That one's good. That's more sword references. That seems to be consistent with that split across the bottom. It's primarily green. But again, I have plans to redesign the sword a little bit anyway. So that's whatever. Okay. I'd like to get some more side references, to be honest. Let me see. And as I said earlier, I appreciate this is super boring, but it's extremely necessary. I'm glad you don't think so. I know I would think so. If I were watching me, I would be bored. So I definitely won't be offended. There's something else I like to do. As I'm gathering references, I like to leave links to where I found stuff because I will definitely come back later and want to know more or want to source more. I'm glad. I'm glad because that was the whole purpose of this was to be like, hey, this is what actually goes into stuff. So, you know, it's very much intended as like a don't beat yourself up over taking a while with various because it really does take a while. The whole thing takes a while, and you spend a dumb amount of time doing basically nothing. So I'm just happy to be able to share the nonsense with people, you know? Um, okay. Yeah. Sides is what I was going for. These are really nice pictures, actually. I'm also trying to be conscious of like not getting noise gated by my mic because I'm not particularly like loud when I'm talking to myself. Good. Okay, that's a relief. That's a relief. There was meant to be like background music to this, but I wanted to have like an overlay to credit who I was using for music, and I couldn't figure it out before I had said I was going to start streaming. So I'll do it later. But for now, silence. So enjoy your own background music, I guess. I'll get there eventually. This is very much just one of those, if I don't try and do the thing, I will never do the thing. So I'd rather kind of mess around and be an embarrassment than do nothing and meh, you know? Oh yeah, always worth doing the thing. Always, always, always worth doing the thing. Cannot stress that enough. I think this is my preferred version of the statues. This is a slightly grittier version though, which is why I liked it. But as far as like being faithful to the source material, this one is my preferred. Like the First for Figures one, as far as like the concept art goes, yeah, cool, great. But I just, as a statue, it's just pretty weak. I have wanted one for a long time, but just to say that I had one, really. But this is, oh, this is gorgeous. I think because it's just dynamic. And that's something that I want to get into this when I make it, is I want that dynamicism and I want things to flow. I don't want things to be too kind of neat and pristine and polished. I want to make a version that is gritty because that suits Majora's Mask as a game. And it was also a lot of what I loved about Twilight Princess, which is why I want to combine the two to make something mental. Okay. This is probably decent enough for now, just as a collection of things. So something else that I will look at when I'm gathering references, I will look at other people who have made cosplays in the past. Now, when I did that for Wave Mother, I was kind of screwed because I decided to make the Wave Mother robe at a point that not many other people had. So I didn't have a lot to go with, and I kind of just had to make it up based on my own experience and things that I thought would work. So that was a lot of winging it, to be honest. A lot of winging it, but a lot of references. But for this, I can definitely find existing cosplays. And I know I can because there are a couple of cosplays. Yep, this one. So the twin cosplay, Fierce Deity Link, is one that I saw when I was considerably younger than I am now. And I remember seeing it and thinking, oh my god, I would love to make something like that. I wonder if I can get a decent pic of it. Nope, they're all ancient and crusty, which is annoying. But look it up. Look it up. Twin cosplays Fierce Deity. It's awesome. And I want to do something not necessarily similar, but something that puts the same amount of spin. Oh, the Wave Mother. Thank you. Cheers. Yeah, no, that was, yeah. That was the drunk kung fu of cosplay, if I'm honest. That and then the contest as well, because it was my first ever cosplay competition. So I'd gone into it just like, at least I'm doing the thing, and then coming away with like, what was it? It was the equivalent of Judge's Choice, but I forget what they called it. Coming away with anything was nuts, but that, insane, genuinely insane, like blew my tiny mind. That was it. Honorable mention. Yeah, yeah, obscenely cool, insanely cool, like just just awesome. And it's dangerous because it's a Pandora's box. Now that I've opened it, I'm looking at things like my next project and thinking, okay, so now what? And in fairness, I've always been like that. I've always been one of those people that like I'll reach a certain point and then go, okay, that was fun, but what's next? It's a double-edged sword. No, no pun intended. But it's one of those. It's great because I stay motivated and I'm always super driven. I'm thoroughly distracted trying to navigate Twitter. I don't use Twitter, so bear with. Okay. Yeah, stuff like this. I'll always look around for stuff like this, just to see what people have done before. Yeah, it's awesome. So cool. Let me see if I can also get a link so that I can go and check back later. But it's just super useful to reference, because this is the kind of thing that, and it's something that that my nan always comes at me with. Whenever I present her with something I'm looking to make, she'll say, "Okay, it's all very well, but it's a drawing, or it's a game, or whatever. So it's not necessarily possible." So I'll always go and look for stuff like this, so I can go, actually, it totally is. Because there are definitely aspects. I know there was something floating around the internet recently wherein a Link cosplayer was trying to unsheath the Master Sword from the scabbard that's on the back, and the physics just don't allow for that to be a thing. So stuff like that, yeah, you have to be super conscious of, because there are little sort of graphical tricks that animators can use to get around those kinds of constraints. So when it comes to actually making stuff, you kind of gotta be a little lenient with what is and isn't possible. Just be super aware that not everything is actually attainable. But then again, that's why I'll look at things that people have made before, because then I know, all right, well, that much at least definitely is doable. More references. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Enough. And again, I get a really nice idea of the back. Yeah, this is super helpful. I will get lost in stuff like this forever. So I need to keep it moving. That's a couple from the same cosplayer. Do I do the twin cosplay one? Because I like it, but I'm not super sold on it stylistically. Lee Kovacs one. That was one of the OGs that got me into cosplay. Lee Kovacs. The person that got me into cosplay. Back when I was what, like 12? My first cosplay I made on my own was when I was 13. It must have been before that then. Must have been. No, don't open in a new window, go away. Let's see. Got one of these. Yeah. No, it's been a while. Been a good long while. Because I've just turned 28. So the existentialism is very real. But all the more reason to just kind of go ham with everything, to be honest. That's where I'm at. Yeah, this one's amazing. Crash Candy cosplay. Very, very talented individual. How cool is that? That is just obscenely cool. And that's what I mean when I say I wanna put a spin on stuff. Stuff like this. Immaculate. Thank you. Yeah, no, it was on the 16th. So when I say just turned, I mean like this month. But yeah. Yeah. Existentialism is very real. Yeah, it still counts. Yeah, still gee, actually it's what? The 30th. Damn it. Yeesh. Yeah, that just kinda happened. I my perception of time is really bad anyway, courtesy of the late diagnosed ADHD. So I just lose time. Yeah. it's, it's, so is. So is. Also very helpful. I will take this as a reference too. I think I'm probably going to end up using quite a lot of her one actually. Yeah. Yeah. It's stuff like that is becoming a real common theme. Like I've got a workmate of mine who recently went for an assessment, and he is also same as me, so AUDHD, autism and ADHD, and great. He described it as like the chill zone, because like you kind of got aspects that counteract one another, and it's generally easier to sort of like keep things in check rather than being like full one or full the other. Because I've got mates who are like full autism and then full ADHD, and they're reasonably intense. Like, I love them to bits, but they are definitely intense. Whereas I think if you have the two, you can kind of like, at least externally, you can kind of moderate it a little bit better. At least I found in my experience I can do that. Yeah, such an awesome outfit. Good grief. Don't get any references for the back though, which is a shame. That's often what ends up missing. Because when, you know, you've got a finished cosplay, why would you take pictures of the back of it? Who cares? That's useful because that shows me yes. Good, 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 good. Okay. Okay. So I'll explain this one. Because I'm looking at this one explicitly with a cosplayer's eye, right? So the reason that I was immediately into this particular picture is because I'm always looking at the functionality of an outfit, how things go together, how things stay together, maneuverability, etc. This picture shows me very clearly these little bits in here those look to be elasticated, or if not, they're still straps. So that then gives me the break in the armor and how it is put on and off. Because it's harder to see in this one. You wouldn't be able to tell straight away. It's only by those little gold edges right up the back that you can see where the split is. But in here, very clear split. So that's then how I know how she got this on and off. Very, very helpful. That's not to say I'm going to do the same thing, but it does give me an example of what has worked. I always default to trying to stay as true to concept as possible when it comes to compromises around compromises around functionality, wearability, etc. So with the Wave Mother, I know that there were various ways I could have had various openings, closures, etc. that would help me get it on and off. Didn't want to do that because it would show, and I wanted to keep everything as accurate to the original as I could. So I opted for stretch fabric instead. Then it was close fitting, like the concept, but I could still kind of stretch bits to get it on and off. So that worked. But something like that is very helpful because static armor pieces are always a tricky one. Maneuverability in something like this is obscenely limited. But the issue with that then comes to be with poses like this, like the original. That for me is where I would take a look at this chest piece and go, okay, there's a reason that that lower edge sits so high up. And it's because you need to actually have quite a lot of lower abdomen freedom to be able to strike dynamic poses. Upper, where your rib cage is fairly static, right? But when you get to this sort of lower area is where you get all your twists and bends, etc. So, as far as being practical, I'd definitely take it higher up than what she's got on here, because otherwise it's just stiff. And as boring as it is, sometimes you need to consider how you're going to function at a very basic level when you're wearing this stuff. I didn't put a whole bunch of thought into that when I made King Crimson. That was a nightmare. Genuinely, that was a nightmare. It was great. I loved it. But it was I don't recommend it. Not really. These are so helpful. Don't want to have to log in. I wonder if I can just Google it. I'm still looking specifically at Crash Candy cosplay at the minute, just because I really love what she's done with that version. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find much else in the way of references. No, I think I've got all the best ones, really. Especially the sword. The sword is just awesome. very, very into the sword. Okay. Alright. I guess I will roll with that for now. That is definitely helpful. I'm gonna do this one again, but I'm gonna take just the sword. Actually, I'm gonna take just the hilt of the sword, because that's the bit I'm really into. That is awesome. That's obscenely cool. That's obscenely cool. So this is where I start getting a little bit specific with it, and I start looking at certain areas that give me quite a lot of information. This gives me the gems and getting it on and off, and the fact that the sleeves are totally separate to the rest of the tunic underneath. So you've almost really got like turtleneck long johns underneath, as per Link's standard, I guess. But the difference here is that the sleeves look to be separate. And again, I've had some thoughts on this already. I've been thinking, I've been mulling it over. I got some plans. I think I know how I'm going to play this. Because the biggie for me is that whenever you make anything, you have to consider your individual constraints. So yeah, you have like your basic constraints, like how am I going to move in this? Can I sit down in this? What do I do when I really have to pee? Those are your basics. But then you will also have specific constraints. So my big one is that I have a major overheating problem. So foam armor is kinda, sorta a big no for the most part. So I will just burn, and I will burn quickly. King Crimson was majority foam armor, but I had, like, skin-safe ice packs underneath. They were heavy, but I could deal with that. So with this, if I can avoid foam, that's preferable. I'll have to see what I can manage, but I have a plan. I have a plan. I'll see if it works, but I have a plan. Okay, other specifics. 'Cause that's the biggie when looking at cosplayer references. Yeah, I like the effect on the sword. I really enjoy that. Let's let's grab a crop of that. And at this point, it's just kind of narrowing down. Okay, so I got a bajillion pictures. Cool. But why do I like them? And then it's kind of picking out the specifics. Like the Lee Kovacs one. I like that the face markings, they look to be like decals rather than painted. So I'm going to swipe that as well. The ears are also a good size. Yeah, I enjoy that. Hmm. I think something else I like about this one is the fringe, and I suppose the wig in general. I enjoy the wig. And I enjoy the wig on this one more. So I'll take that as well. Take that as well. Cool. Okay. So now I've managed to amass few kind of initial references. So this is where the fun begins. Because now I have to start defining what I want to do with this. So I've got all the official concepts, and I've got what other people have made before, specifically things that I like that people have made before. I've got a little bit around kind of the practical aspects of what people have made before, and I've got the specifics that I like from them kind of narrowed down a bit. Now I want to start looking at what I want to do with it, because this is stuff that other people have done, and it's awesome, great, I love it, but it's not mine. So how do I make it mine? And that's where I start pulling in the things that I want to add to this. So let's find yes. Okay. So yep, this is where it gets somehow even more complicated. So I want that. I also want to can I just get hold of the line art for the logo? Let's do logo. Nice. Okay, that's helpful. I'm very picky with my sources. I will only go for like the official stuff. If I can find it. If I can't, then meh. But I prefer go with official stuff. So I might just leave that now and go with the other things I know I want to include, which is this. And various other things. So, well, that's a better image. Yeah, I'll use this one instead. That's way better. Okay. You can go. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Right. That too. Then I also know that I want. Yeah. Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. Um, uh, Give me more concept art. More concept art. That works. That works. Thank you, Zelda Wiki. Yeah. Cookies, etc. Just let me find the thing. That's concept art. That's one. Grab this. Nice. Nice. And get rid of what I don't actually need in that. Which is kinda, sorta, all of that, really. I suppose I can keep this. I suppose I can keep that. So, I want this also. What else do I want? There was one of them that was really helpful. I think it was Eldin. I think it was Eldin. Yeah, okay, right. All of this will eventually become clear. Now, markedly less so. But eventually, it will make sense. I have a plan. It is ridiculous. But it is a plan nonetheless. Okay. At some point, I'm going to have to start drawing things to properly illustrate what I'm thinking. But for now, I don't have to. For now, I can kind of cheese it. Just by dealing with the basics. So, what I want to do is and I'll always start out with what I'd like to do, and then I will temper my expectations after the fact. Because I'd rather start at 100 and end up at 75 than start at 60 and just kind of be like, yeah, this seems sensible. I don't deal in sensibilities. Absolutely not. So, what I'm looking to do is I whack you somewhere in the middle. I would like to let's say really sort of there-ish. Gives a pretty good idea. What I'd like to do. And then other things I like. The way that the emblems have been done on here I really like. And then that is important. That is super important. Okay. Let me kind of sort of explain at least a little bit, unless I have my notebook around, which I should do. Oh, I think I do. Ha 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 ha. Perfect. Okay. All right. Everything's fine. Because you know how I'd said that I didn't want to cheat, but I'd started kind of looking at stuff already. Yes, notebook. This is the Bible as far as all my cosplay nonsense. I keep everything in here. Everything that I've made before is within this notebook. Let's see. So I still have all my old notes from King Crimson in here. So yeah, yeah. Just to prove the point, there's a bunch of notes on King Crimson. So yeah, that's how I figure things out. So I will have in here. Oh, there's the Wave Mother stuff. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah. Ah, here we go. Right. So this is where I started figuring stuff out for this outfit. I'll have to go back through the specifics, but as far as like the brainstorming aspect, this gives a pretty good idea in terms of what I'm looking to get out of this, right? So let me quickly see. I'm just trying to see whether I can get this in real time. I don't think I can, which is only slightly annoying, but there you go. Right. So, I don't know, OBS exists. There we go. Right. So, this is what I started doing, right? So basically, the plan is with the chest plate, I want to kind of have it fused shadow-esque. So it's got those kind of so it's got those sorts of markings carved into it, right? Because I like the idea of it being sort of stone-like. Because particularly on this bit in here, you can see that that sort of sticks out. So I don't look at that as a metal chest plate, because there's a big old ridge up under there as well, and everything's quite blocky and chunky. So I decided, hey, that lends itself quite well to being a sort of a stone chest plate. So if I take the markings from the fused shadow and do something similar for the chest piece and for the other plate pieces, that's what I'm aiming to do. Um, then in terms of the light spirit stuff, what I liked about this one was there was some interest added to the tunic. It wasn't just a solid color, whatever, right? I liked the interest was added. I wasn't as taken with what the interest actually was. Like I'm not feeling like the sort of lace type thing, because I want to do something gritty, right? So I decided, because the fierce deity Link is basically a wrathful god, right? So I wanted to take the light spirits because that seemed appropriate, and have those kind of swirling patterns as part of the tunic. So I've got like the fused shadow chest plate, and then the light spirit styled tunic. And there's a way I plan to go about this. But that's additional research. This is still technically like image gathering rather than process focused. Getting to that, but this is still the pipe dream, right? This is still like the ideal scenario. So I want to have all of these together as they all apply to this. Then, as far as the tunic, and I know I'm straying from the kind of canon references with this, but it's just a better image. So as far as the tunic side of things, particularly like the sleeves and the hem. So with this, that's where I want to have these come in. I think it's going to be slightly easier if I do it like this. With that, and also this. Okay. Probably get rid of those. Right. So that kind of groups them together in their respective clusters. Then the OCD kicks in and won't let me just get on with it. Okay. So that kind of groups those together. But then it gets to a point where I have to kind of it's the way I work. I can't just do like the basic stuff and then fill in the gaps later. I kind of have to do it all as I'm going. So like with the notes, right? I'll start by doing just basics, gathering just info and patterns and whatever. But very quickly, that will become borderline essays and figuring things out on like the functional sort of basis. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And I will probably end up taking pics and adding them from this book to the slide collection because it's just useful having sketches. Like it helps to get the point across pretty effectively. But for now, I can annotate what I have here and kind of explain various bits and pieces. So what else can I get rid from this because it's annoying? Probably that. Yeah, that seems fine. Seems fine. So, as far as kind of explaining stuff, I could probably do I don't have the Wave Mother on my laptop. I'm gonna say I could look back at what I did for the Wave Mother and kind of show the process. But oh well, it's not saved here, so there goes that idea. But oh, okay, everything is lagging. That's fine. Make a reasonably thick arrow. Just leave that as one that I can make a bunch of copies of. So this will be, I mean, really, all of that. and that. Then this, be easier to explain if it's higher up. Move out of the way for now. And then I start making little notes to myself about various bits and pieces. So I shall have to do so in white so I can actually see it. Then I have to think about the specifics and what it is that I like. So I'd say I'm a I'm second guessing myself, and I'm wondering whether there is actually an E in grimy. I'm gonna Google it. Pretty sure. Yeah, there is. There is. I was definitely just second guessing myself. So just kind of just the things that I like, the things I'm looking to add. And what else can I say about this? It's kind of all you need to know. Kind of says everything it has to, really. And then I suppose I kind of want to go with um, mm, I like to kind of not necessarily justify, but very much explain the reasons that I do things the way that I do, or that I'm planning to do things the way that I'm planning to do them. So this one, very much a case of let's say I mean it's more of an overtone, to be honest. we'll say theme. Mm. Now I had the lore written down. I had it written down on a sticky note on my phone. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So I have a note full of lore from when I've been in the gym and I've just been Googling stuff. And I like to base concepts, again, around the original. So looking at official lore, we've got things that are relevant, right? So the fierce deity possesses the merits of all the masks and is the representation of the feelings of all people populating the land of Termina. And we've got things like it's dark power, ruthless, stoic, godly strength, anti-hero in appearance, all stuff that works really well with Twilight Princess and its theme. So let's I think that's fair enough. I think I can get away with that. As explanations go. Oh, hey, what's up? How's it going? Yeah, work exists, and I'm sorry that that's a thing you have to go deal with right now. But thank you for saying hi. I appreciate it. Welcome to the Cringe Fest. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm at peace with that, to be honest. But thanks for saying hi. Most epic and cool. I'd opened the chat up on my phone, but I didn't get your message come through. So I've refreshed it, and I'm hoping now that if anyone sends anything else, I will actually get to see it. Ah, there it is. Awesome. Good. Ah, yes. Yes, definitely. Definitely I need to ask about pretty much everything when it comes to streaming tips because I don't know. I've always been one of those people like I can do the thing, you know, but when it comes to like I suppose I'm not good at like the ramble. I tend to be pretty kind of just headphones on in the zone and crack on. So as far as like I suppose the presentation of stuff, pretty mid, pretty mid. Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You do you. Totally fine. You lurk all you want. This is, as I was saying earlier, this is the boring part of cosplay projects. This is the part that's just kind of like, yeah, I can have it on in the background and be okay, but like I couldn't intently be watching this because it's pretty meh, you know. Necessary, but it's pretty meh. I'm glad you're still having fun. I'm also shocked that you're still here. What time is it where you're at now? Because because sleep exists or should exist. Hmm, regardless of what you may claim, the passage of time stops for no one. I should know because I have tried. I have tried very hard. It refuses to help me out. So, oh, okay, the bot works. Bot works. The bot that I tried to set up for the music that I wanted to make sure I was crediting before I used. Um, okay. I don't know why it's decided now is the time that it will work. So I'll get back to that. And also the link doesn't look like it actually works. So cool. That's a future me problem. Still mostly awake. Okay, all right. At your discretion. You do you. If my nonsense can help soothe you to sleep, then epic. I'll take that. I'm very much okay with that. And I need to figure out how long I'm going to be doing this for in like one go. How long is a reasonable stream length for something like this? Especially this because it's just kind of eh, it's fairly mundane. So there'll be other things I intend to mess around with and stream. Um, I got a few little projects that I want to work on for friends. But this was the one that I needed to tackle because I've been putting it off for so long. So that's why I'm doing this now. So I know how I want to do it. Do I mention that somewhere else? Probably. Probably. I don't want to go overkill on pattern usage because it will just become an awful mess. I do want to talk about this though. So actually, if I move these around a little bit, move you down here, figure out where I can put you, probably here, stretch that out, and then that's fine. Cool. I should probably make these arrows not black. Is white going to be any better? It might be. Oh, yeah, white's better. Okay. Alright. I shall stand corrected. Or sit, I suppose. That's another thing. I don't like sitting for too long. I can't. I can't do it. Ugh. Nor can I speak properly, apparently. I'm a very, like, active person. I like to be doing stuff. I think, like, it's probably a hypermobility thing because I'm bendy, and I think being sat in one place for too long, everything just starts hurting. Whereas at least if I'm moving all the time, you got that fluidity. So yeah, I don't think I'll do like sitting streams for that long. But when it comes to making stuff, those will be like the stupid long ones. So I can do that for a dumb amount of time. That's gonna be a fun thing to figure out. Got ideas around it, but just trying to narrow down the specifics of what I actually need to start researching. Because, finding pictures, cool, that's great and it's useful. But then it gets into the all right, but what am I using them for? That's kind of what this is. So actually, I need to put in a break there so I know what's split up into what segments. Yeah, just easier to see what I'm doing. Then I know I can go back from here, and that's just pictures and just stuff that I can pull from to try and make my case. So if I take the original concept art, really that's what I should start with here. Start with this and start making a bunch of notes. And this will need black arrows, probably. So this is all the stuff that is important. All of the things that are gonna matter. Organized. It has to be at least a little organized. I know that I've advertised all of this as chaos. It is. Categorically, this is chaos. But it is all compartmentalized. Every box you open is a new shit show. But at least it's in its own box. That's kind of how I'd quantify this whole thing, to be honest. It's all nicely organized on their own little shelves, but wear eye protection before you open them. there is order amongst the chaos, I suppose, but it's all relative, really. No, I usually call it this. Mm, I also have to leave myself little Easter eggs in the notes I make. Otherwise, I lose interest. It's fun to, when I'm reading back through, find stupid things that I've left for myself to find later on. I need to make a decision around that. 'Cause it can be either. It can be either, but I need to make the choice. And I'll have to base that choice on base it on that. Little treats, yeah, definitely. Definitely little treats for myself. Yeah. 'Cause you need incentives to go through this kind of thing. It's all useful. And I'll have to flick back through my notebook to see what else I've already thought about. Because there will be things. Try not to knock me, Mike. I'm a professional. What else? Ah, yes, constraints. Oh, why am I using the trackpad? I have a mouse. Hmm. Personal constraints. Oh, heat. That is a problem. Heat is the big problem. Movement is a thing. That shouldn't be a problem. It was a massive problem with King Crimson, but it shouldn't be a problem with this. I should be able to separate them. Oh, okay, no. Alright. That's a possibility. See, a lot of how I end up approaching something will depend on the practicalities. And I'm now looking at that lower armored section and thinking, if I can literally have it just sling on and off on a belt, piece of cake. And then if I need to whack some magnets at the very bottom point, no biggie. Okay. This is how things come together. So I'll leave I'll leave shower thoughts as a separate section. Oop, come on, do the thing. Shower thoughts. Yeah. Now, what else do I want to think about? I want to. Yes. That applies to fabric choices. Pigmentation. Because I don't make anything easy for myself. Um, How I quantify all these things that are kinda spinning around my brain. It's where I put them, which is why they tend to start off in random places and then I organize them afterwards. So what else do I need to think about with this? That kind of is its own question. I'll leave it there for now. Okay. That's something that I should factor in because I probably get too hot. So I need to think of a way of working around that. Again, I have thought about this for a while and I have ideas on how to do that, but that is makes things way more complicated than they already are. Um, the range of motion is a biggie. That's important. And that's where the how to space the armor matters. Let's take that out of that. That is then kind of its own constraint. And then um, that's a biggie. And that is another complication. So I'd made chic years ago, and it was great. It was one of my best outfits I'd ever made. But it was so many layers, and I managed it for half a day, and then had to take most of it off, and I was so annoyed because it was awesome. I wonder if I've got any pics on my phone. Must do. Must do. Uh, would it be in here? Could be. Hmm. Do I only have one pic on here? Oh no, I've got another one. Okay. Really old and crusty though, so good luck seeing it. But that was back in the day. Pretty cool. I was I was a big fan of how that turned out. But it was so many layers. It was obscene how many layers there were to this thing. And I just by the time I got it, taking pictures out in the woods, easy. In the convention center, around a load of other people generating body heat, it was a terrible idea. So I need to think about minimizing the number of layers that go into this thing. Thank you. I'm glad you think so too. I'm typically pretty bad at I suppose giving myself credit over stuff like that. But that one I can look at and go, yeah, that was obscene because it was the first time I tried sewing like fake leather. A nightmare. Absolute nightmare. The most painful thing I'd ever done. but it looked great, and I still have it. Not a lot of it fits particularly well anymore because I'm a lot broader than I used to be. But I still have it. I still have it. But yeah, layers really matter. It's just an added complication because then okay, I have to split that into a skirt, split the sleeves so they're separate. Have like a sort of yoke piece for the top of that, and then it's a case of all right, do I have that almost like a really cropped crop top and have the sleeves still attached? Because tension is going to matter. And if I have the sleeves separate, what keeps them up? And then it's going to pull if it's lightweight, and you know, all these things, all these things really, really matter. And that's where the shower thoughts section comes in. I suppose it'd be um, what do I put it as part of this? Rather than minimize. The boots should be fairly easy. Should be. Thing with the boots is that they sag. They sag quite a lot. And then I look at that and think, okay, then what's keeping them up? Arguably, the little buckles at the front. Okay. So, it's... I reckon, if I had to guess, that would be my guess. What else? Because this is where it starts getting specific, and I start actually having to come out of the noteworthy aspects and start just labeling stuff bit by bit. That will then be that. I can keep that white, that's fine. Okay. I want to point out what I'm talking about as well. Not that you can see. That's slightly better. Good enough. Good enough. Yeah, I debated like announcing that I was going to be doing this on my socials last night, and then I didn't because I was like, I kind of don't want a bunch of people showing up to this, which is a really dumb way of looking at it. But it was one of those like, I need to have some people around so that I can get in the practice of doing this, right? But also, I kind of don't want a load of people because then it's gonna be baseline cringe, right? And it just makes it that little bit worse knowing that it's cringe and a load of people are seeing that it's cringe. At least for now, it's like it's intimately cringe, you know. It's not cringe. Are you sure? it feels pretty cringe. Maybe because it's just like I don't really have anything, like, practical that I'm showing at the minute. That's the stuff that I feel generally more confident in. That's like the drunk kung fu side of it. It's like, yeah, I'm good at that. I'm good at the kind of making stuff up and having it accidentally work side of things. That's fine. But I think this is just kind of like I love doing this. I don't think there's necessarily an awful lot to take away from this, but it's also super, super critical to the whole process. So I can't skip it. It's like it's like skipping out Phantom Blood and going straight into Stardust Crusaders. Like you need the context for that to make any sense, right? And I'd like to point out that battle tendency is my favorite part, but point still stands, right? Like I'm not going to skip this because you need the context, but also it's pretty meh, not to hate too hard on Phantom Blood, but it's pretty meh. But I'm glad it's not as cringe as I'm thinking it is, because it definitely feels like it. I think it's also like having to remind myself to talk is weird. That's something that I'm gonna have to get used to. Definitely doesn't come naturally. I'm not a yapper, I don't really yap. You kind of need to. I suppose it'd be different if I was like playing a game. Neat to see the very start of an ambitious project. Thank you. I'm glad that there is some value to this because that was the intent, right? That was the whole purpose of this was to have that value, and especially I think because after MCM, I was very moved by the number of people who were newly into cosplay, who'd come to talk to me and said that what I was doing was inspiring. Like that I'm not an emotional person. That messed with me. And I kind of after a few conversations, I kind of wanted to thanks. After a few conversations, I kind of wanted to I wanted to break down that barrier between people who are newly starting this kind of thing and people like myself who've been doing this for a stupid number of years, and just kind of, I suppose, prove a point, right? Because it's easy to look at what someone else has achieved and then to think, oh man, I could never do that. Says who? You know? Why not? Why couldn't you do that? If you put in the same amount of hours as whoever you're looking at, you absolutely can do that. Anyone can. But it's trying to. The reason I'm streaming all of this is to show A, how much time really does go into something like this, and B, there's more chaos and nonsense and mess and failure. That's really important. There's a lot of failure that goes into a big project than than what can be expressed through the end result, you know? And it's a really basic concept, and it's one of those things that, if you said to me, I'd go, "Well, yeah, obviously, right?" Like, duh. But I don't know how many people present that, like, super honestly. And that was my intent with this, is to just be honest with it and to just kind of show it in its raw state for what it is, you know, at stupid times in the morning with my hair a mess in my gym kit, just messing around. Because that's what it is. It's just trial and error and kind of mad scientist type shenanigans. And it's great. I love it. And I would recommend it to anyone and everyone. And I don't want anyone to ever feel held back because they're comparing what they're doing to what someone else has done. And it's one of those, you can't you can say it all you like, but you can't stop people making those comparisons. But at least I'm hoping, if anyone's gonna compare themselves to me, at least I can present them with something hopefully relatable, you know? That kind of human aspect. Because it's super important. Because cosplay is not a sort of nice, neat hobby. It's not a super professional, slick kinda interest to have. And I think viewing it like that takes away a lot of what it means to be a cosplayer. I think it requires the chaos. I don't think you can be a cosplayer without it. Really, not really. There's a lot that goes into the way it makes you feel, and you need hardship to have that kind of gratification when you're done with it. You know, I'm having to check myself because my brain's saying it's like childbirth. It's not like that. It's not a reasonable comparison to make. But it's the right kind of premise. You know, like you need to suffer to feel as good as you do by the end of it. And I was just saying that I'm not a yapper, and yet here I am. I'm working on it. I'll find the balance eventually. I'll strike the balance. Right. Where was I? I'd done this. I wanted to put that in one as well, actually. Let's take that. And then this is where I start spitballing a bit. More so than I already have been. I also need to stop and think about when I want to eat something. Because when was the last time I had anything? That's a classic. Is the I forgot to eat. Oh well. I've got a drink with me, but I don't have any food with me. I also need to keep messing with my cable so it doesn't hit my mic. Yeah, yeah, very classic. Important and very classic. For sure. How long have I been going? Couple hours? Okay. Alright. That's not bad. That's not bad. If I give it maybe another hour or so, if I can manage that, then I think that's a reasonable duration for sort of, I'm gonna say a test stream, but it's a real stream. It's a real stream. Can't hide behind the L plates. This is not. This is not that. This is an actual stream. It's just a reasonably confused one. So I was gonna say a real stream, and you should eat. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I suppose I could always whack on the BRB screen, which amuses me greatly. But I've had to mute the music because when I when I ran the stealth launch of this a couple of days ago, when I got the VOD back, it had muted the BRB screen. I guess because of the elevator music that I had over the top, which is a shame. I'll have to find some other suitable music because the screen itself is funny. It's funny. I put too much time into making that thing. But yeah, I suppose I could. I suppose I could. And in fairness, if I duck out to go eat something, it gives you the opportunity to go to sleep. I suppose it depends how bothered you are about missing me ramble and type some stuff. Perhaps. Okay, all right. Well then we'll strike a deal, right? I will hit the BRB screen and go and eat something, and you go to sleep because they're things that we should probably both do. And then by the time I get back, I can finish some stuff. Nice. I couldn't tell what that emote was from a distance. Nice. But yeah, by the time I get back, I'll finish up a few bits and pieces, and then potentially call it quits for now, and look at some other stuff that I've got to deal with today, because my to-do list is reasonably extensive, as is always the way when I'm off. Yeah, and I can tweak a few bits and pieces around the technical side of streaming as well. Try and set up some more stuff. Yeah, okay, all right. So, yes, deal. Good, good, excellent. I am glad. So, on that note, you go to bed. Sweet dreams. I will continue to be awake, but hopefully imminently with cake. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Um, yeah, stoked to have anyone rock up, really. So big, big ups. Thank you kindly. Very grateful. I'm gonna whack up the BRB and then be back. Hopefully, no more than 10 minutes. But also, I'm myself, so maybe closer to 15. Who knows? But I'll give it a whack. So, oh, it's so good. Okay, right. I'm gonna mute everything, and yeah, catch you in a bit, or maybe later than a bit, depending. But either way, bear with. Okay. In theory I should be back. Well, hey. Alright. Back in business. I need to my chair to be a little bit more central. That way. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I got thoroughly distracted by by my nan, who was cackling uncontrollably over a video of a guy baking an apple pie. She tried to explain it to me, and I kinda get it, but also it's not as funny as she was making out. But that in of itself was hilarious, so I'm easy, really. Right, where did I get to? I was figuring more of this out. So, yeah, a lot of planning, and as I say, it feels like it's fairly mundane, but it's painfully important, particularly how it ends up informing the choices you make on a practical level. So, because I'm looking, all right, I'll use an example. So, in this instance, if we take just the tunic itself, so all the sort of light bluey bits. So, looking at this and adding in my personal constraints, it kind of dictates your options. So, because I'm looking to get that kind of nice, flowy look to everything, and I also need to really be hot on the overheating aspect, I already know that this, whatever I choose, has to be pretty lightweight. It can't be anything stiff or thick because you won't get the sort of pleating. I'm going to pleat it as well, but you won't get it. It'll be too bulky. But it needs to have some amount of thickness to it to have a decent drape. So there are parameters, right? And that's why I will always start with a fairly extensive combing through of various source materials. But the layering is a biggie. And as I say, I think I need to factor in the possibility that I might have to use ice packs again. But it shouldn't be as bad as it was last time. I did it for King Crimson, but that was the first time I'd done anything to that magnitude, and it was the first time I'd used ice packs. So you learn some things when you do stuff. You learn that they're quite heavy, and that carrying the spares around with you all day is not an amazing idea because they're also quite heavy. And I'm kind of looking at this now, and I'm wanting to avoid using them if I can, but I also need to build this in such a way that if I have to use them, it's doable. And I think the main way I'm going to manage that is by making this chest piece stand away from the body, which actually happens to work out quite well because where's a decent picture to prove my point? I suppose it'd be this one, because you've got these bits in here, right? And they stand away quite obviously. And again, with that sort of line under the chest, it stands away. So I think I can justify kind of leaving a gap and allowing for ice packs if I need to use them. Because I want to be able to wear this thing. You know, I don't want it to be a repeat case of Chic. That's a better. It's just a zoomed in version. But I don't want it to be a case of I put all this effort in and then I can wear it for 5 minutes before I die, you know? So constraints are a biggie. And then also, as I've said before, there's the actual real life physics of things and how feasible that is. But that's gonna matter less with this because this is just primarily an outfit. Like, I'm not having to think too much about moving parts. That's future me plans. I'll get around to that. But for now, that's on the back burner. But for this, as I say it every time, but supposedly it shouldn't be too bad. I'm gonna make it worse for myself, but in theory, the basics shouldn't be too bad. So try and refresh myself on where I got up to. Ice packs we've covered. Minimize layering. That was when I was talking about breaking this up into sections. So let's say up into sections. So then we'd have long sleeves. Or no, I'd say tunic sleeves. Tunic sleeves slash call it neck piece for now. Tunic skirt. I don't really want to call them tights. They're more like leggings. Yeah. So those are kind of the key sections because I really want to have as little overlap as possible. But it is a substantial but. The issue you run into with things like that is then how each piece will behave. So I'm going to whack that on here because that is important. Important to consider. Fabric. Ooh. Tension. If I do a little arrow. I can draw an arrow. What am I doing? Tension. I I will do EG. EG. Rats. Good. Yeah. That's a pretty decent explanation. I had a hot chocolate when I was downstairs, and now it's just like coated my throat. I should have considered that before I went back to talking excessively. And you'd think I'd know by now, because I used to do a lot of Amdram and musical theatre, and that was always a big no. It was like, don't, no milk. Nah, nah, nah. That is a hard nope. But, oh well. I'd say you live and learn, but I clearly haven't. Okay. Tension, yep. I don't need a comma there. Okay. That kind of covers something else I wanted to go over. Let's move this over here for now. I can move this. Right, behave. one thing at a time. Keep having to try and itemize stuff in my head. Sort the priorities out and organize it after the fact. So, what else do I need to note about this? The armor segmentation is a biggie, so test 8. Is flexation a word? I feel like it is. Let me Google it. Because I could be making this up. Yeah, it's a word. I'm fine. Alright. No worries. Yeah, that's a pretty simple one. Did not go down there though. What I did want to put was and again, I don't really want to have white arrows, but also you can't really see black on black, so we'll do that. That works for that. That we know that. Now, in terms of getting it on and off, that's something I can't really go into a whole bunch of detail on with this pick. I'll have to cover that in other images, because I've got a few ideas for how to make that work. I just can't quite see the point that I think I can mess around with in this particular image. So for now, I'll just keep using this for whatever I think makes sense. So what else can I see in this one? Gauntlets I've not really covered because I'm not worried. Like, that's one of those meh. I'll deal with that when I get to it. Everything else is more of an immediate problem for me at the minute, to be honest. I feel like the idea of doing face decals rather than painting stuff. So, more distant / uniform painting. Pencil is very much doable too. I thought about that the other day. That's something that I worry about. Whenever you've got something like this that is incredibly kind of even on both sides, but also reasonably intricate and or specific, I always worry about anything being lopsided. But stencils are feasible. Like, it's super easy to make something that I just stick over my face and then just mirror, which is probably how I'll end up doing it. But at the minute, it's just here are some options, here are some possibilities, and definitely possible. So I want to label this. That is a really important aspect. And then face stuff. Enough. Not quite. better. All right. And the wig, I've been thinking about the wig, and I've been debating something. I have been wondering if and that's going to take a lot of explaining. Do I have the space to explain it here? Not really. This is what I mean about needing to move things around. That doesn't really help me a whole bunch, so whatever. Please, just let it be. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I really need to get down my thoughts on the hat, because again, I have ideas. There are things I think I can do to make it work. Don't like it when things are that uniform. Look it up. Look it up. Okay. That gives me enough space to now write out what I'm thinking. So, put the articulated frame way. That's what I want to get out of this. Again, a lot of spitballing, to be honest. An awful lot of just, here is a maybe. But sketching out exactly what I mean is its own process. And I will have to run a separate stream with a camera set up over my notebook or whatever, so you get an idea of what I mean. But for now, this just gets things down. Personal constraints I was going over. That I can actually put up here. I'll say could. I could. Because it's a possibility, not a definite. That covers this. Like that. And at least that's then easy to get on and off. Those are really my major constraints. These are the things that matter a lot. So the dynamicism is a biggie. Armor segmentation, hat articulation, yeah. Sword, yeah. Can I... No, that doesn't. Okay, fine. Fine. Make a difference. Ice packs, yes. Alright. So what else do I need to cover here, really? Getting things on and off is always a biggie. This should actually be pretty easy to relieve yourself in. Especially compared to some of the other stuff I've done. It should be really easy. Because realistically, like, the waist down stuff, simple. Super simple. Super easy. Pretty much. I mean, separate pieces, but done in a one-er, right? Because it will basically just be a case of leggings under a skirt. Okay. Done. Really. It's only that little section in there. But as I say, if it's attached to a belt and you just sling it on and off, piece of cake. I'm not worried about that, to be honest. I'm not worried about that at all. Everything I'm worried about is kind of waist up. It says a lot, to be honest. Is there anything else on this particular image that I can point out? You can't really tell the armor thickness from this pic. You can see the sword. That's something I need to note. Sword. Height. Whatever you want to call it, height or length. Determined by users. Actual. So this is where I get kind of picky. Because again, I'm always interested in making this as accurate as possible. So I want to have this, the size of the sword, be as accurate to my actual height as it is in this concept. But then perspective exists. So where he's currently holding that sword, my throat's gonna be the death of me. Where he's currently holding that sword is further back than where his body's positioned. So if I were to just measure his height here, it would be way out. Way out. Because perspective exists. So I have to find static model E or a pose. Compare sword height to model size, and then scale model against own height. Well, presumably if I did that first, right? Yeah, do that first, and then that saves me a little bit of faff. So, what did I just do? Oh, I pressed a button. I don't know what button I pressed. Oh, is it this? Turn it off? No, I don't wanna see it. What did I do? Ah, thank God, okay. Yeah, I hate that. Alright, that's a new one. Scale to own height. There, done. Done yin rings. Okay, then that figures out how big the sword is. I've been going for 3 hours on this. So I'll finish up this general kind of faff, and then when it gets to the more specific things, that will also be its own stream. The main thing is I have to make sure that I don't end up doing any of this outside of the stream because that defeats the point. The whole point is that I want to have the duration of this series reflect pretty much exactly how much time actually went into this. That's the whole point. I'll have a think. I'll have a think, and then I will do something else later on this morning / this afternoon, just so I'm mixing it up a bit. But it depends whether it ends up being something streamable or if I've got other bits and pieces to do, because I do. But I think really, for now, this is probably good enough for now. There are lots of other things I need to cover on this, but for the time being, this is a decent place to leave things. I've been going for a sort of just over 3 hours, so it's a pretty nice number to leave it on. And then I can come back and look at this again slightly later on in the day, because there are lots of other things that I want to get down on here, but I have various appointments I need to go and book and what have you, and now places will be open so I can actually do that. So yeah, I think for now I'll leave this where it is. Go deal with some other admin and obligations, and then I'll come back to this or something else crafty later. And yeah. Oh, right. Let me just check. Okay. Yeah, everything's still running, audio's still working. I should have checked that beforehand, but oh well. Hopefully I can get background music working properly and the bot working properly and stuff like that. But whether that happens today or not, can't say. But regardless, thanks for rocking up, having a look. Again, I apologize for how mundane this is, but it's a critical part of any and every project. So it's important to cover it. But hopefully we can move on to the fun stuff reasonably soon. But again, no promises, to be honest, because it is a large chunk of these projects is just like admin. But yeah, regardless, thanks for giving it a look anyway. And I will catch you guys probably later today, but if not, definitely tomorrow. So take care of yourselves, look after each other, and I'll catch you in a bit.